Good morning. We'll be on camera in just a second. Wait for us. I'm just setting up the live stream, setting up the cameras, getting the lights on, doing everything that I think we need to do to set this up. Sharing the links, all that fun stuff. Posting this stuff on Facebook, which obviously didn't come here from because I haven't put the link up yet. Send the link on our webpage. We can look at the talented and the lovely Trevor right there stretching out. This is class number. What class are we on right now? 6, 5, 6, yeah. So today we're going to be working on more mount stuff, a little bit more. We're actually getting submissions, which if you're following along from scratch, if you've never done this before, if you're like, if this is your, for whatever reason, your very first exposure to jiu-jitsu through these classes, this is the first time I've shown any submissions. Or finish, maybe I should say. And as Trevor's stretching out, as I'm finishing this up right now, logging on, that's good. Let me tell you something about submissions. Again, I'm going to say these things till they're really drilled into your head. I apologize, but that's the way I work. Of course, your criteria for doing anything is safety first, then position, then finish. Okay, that is, for lack of better words, the prime directive in jiu-jitsu. I'll put it right there. Okay. You can't finish anybody off if you can't maintain a position. You can't maintain the position if you're safe. I like the analogy of American football marching towards the goal line right there. Like, you know, there's a possibility you can finish somebody from a weird position, from a really bad position, but it's about the same percentage of trying to score a touchdown from your own goal line right there and going all the way down. As you march closer to your opponent's goal line, your chances of success goes up. That's just the definition of a good position. Okay, we're never 100%, we're never 0%, of course. Okay, we're just playing an odds game. Okay, so he's been following along based on how well we've been able to maintain the mount or understanding of maintaining a position. Okay, going from a position where we think about strength and safety to strength and domination, we will increase our chances of going after that submission. Now, here's the big disclaimer. I would flash red on the screen if I was coming in and editing it as opposed to doing it live. Let me tell you this right now. Submissions are dangerous things. There's a reason why I waited towards, what class are we on again? 6? There's a reason why on this course right now I waited till class 6. So hopefully you've gone through everything before we got to this point, developed a level of how to work with a partner, how to work with somebody, how to even compete with somebody. There's a level of trust on this because it is this. All submissions are dangerous things, okay? All submissions are designed to cause injuries. Okay, they're not designed to cause tap outs. They are designed to cause injuries. Okay, so they're not so innocent maneuvers, and we have to treat this with a lot of respect. Okay, play around with this too much or don't take things seriously. You will get hurt or you will hurt somebody with this. But by their nature, submissions are designed to cause injury. Okay, they're not designed to cause tap outs. Okay, that's a big misnomer about this. Tap outs are there to prevent that injury from happening. Okay, it's to say, I've had enough. It's my way of screaming uncle right there. It's my way of saying like, hey, if you got me, congratulations, you've checkmated me. I don't want to get injured at this point. Okay, there is nothing wrong with tapping out. Okay, every jiu-jitsu person on the planet as they train will tell you they have done that multiple times. Okay, it's part of the process as we're learning, as we're working, as we're going forward. Okay, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with tapping out. Okay, you're going to do that a lot. Your goal is to essentially not put yourself in that situation, figure out how to get out of that situation sometimes, or not even get in the situation in the first place. Okay, proving how tough of a person you are by letting yourself get to a point of injury or letting yourself get injured. You know, unless there's money on the line, if you're doing this more for fun and recreation, it's pretty pointless. Okay, it's pretty pointless. If you get injured, you can't train, you can't get any better at that point. So getting hurt on a submission is no bueno. Okay. Today we're going to be discussing the Americana, and I like the discussion of Americana in terms of your first submission in some ways because it's how should I say, like the dynamic isn't quite the right word for it, but everybody tends to react a little bit differently towards that submission. Okay. Or everybody seems to have their own kind of breaking point. So like I'll tell you right now, the spoiler alert is the Americana from the mount will be when we bend the arm back and start twisting right here. The Americana, sometimes called the paintbrush, is designed to attack the rotator cuff. Okay, shoulders and rotator cuff. This is where the injury point would occur. Okay. Now, some people happen to be flexible. Some people will be flexible here. Some people will be flexible here. Some people, it feels like you can bring their arm all the way back and wrap it around their back and it doesn't seem to affect them. Everybody seems to have a different tolerance on that Americana. Okay. And I don't know that looking at you through the camera, or I never know that necessarily when I first react and work with an opponent the first time or a partner the first time. I never know what their submission point is. Okay. Or that point of injury, we'll call it right here. Okay. My opponent or my partner, or whoever we want to call it right there, would know that. Okay. But I don't know that necessarily. So the golden rule that I have in training, okay, in teaching and working in the academy, and the golden rule you should affect yourself, and it's really, I'm not super formal, it's the one rule that I always keep up, is that any submission that you apply in training, okay, has to go with enough technique and control that your partner has the opportunity to tap out before they get injured. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again so it's really drilled in your head. You can rewind that if you want. Any submission applied in training has to go with enough technique and control that your partner has the opportunity to tap out before they get injured. Okay, this is important. Competition, you might have your own set of ethics on that. Street fighting might be a matter of survival, but in training, I'll say it a third time, every submission applied has to go with enough technique and control that your partner has the opportunity to tap out before injury. That's all I really ask. If you have that sense, you'll have a good time. Okay, don't obey that, you're going to have a bad time on that. And trust me,
if they stop breathing.
Yeah, they stop breathing. There's another one right there. And as much as it sucks to get injured, most of us really don't like injuring people. Okay, even though we said the submission is correct on that. So again, if somebody gets hurt on submission, one of two people could have been at fault. Number one, it could have been the fault of the person having the submission applied to them. Okay, let's just go ahead and say that Trevor goes ahead and puts me in the Americana on the side right there. And I happen to be hyper flexible, right? And I'm sitting here like, haha, he's got it right now. It's locked in. He's done everything that he can on this right now. I'm like, screw you, Trevor. I'm never going to tap. I'm fighting, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's going ahead and he's applying careful pressure and careful pressure and careful pressure and careful pressure. And I never tap. I'm tapping right now. Then that was my fault. Okay. I should have been had an awareness. I should have tapped before we got to that point of injury. Okay. I'll tell you that everybody does that at some point in their career. You have a good battle right there. You know, it turns into this war of attrition. It turns into this war of wills right there. You get caught. You don't want to give it up. It's your arch rival or whatever. You're testing and pushing the limits. You want to see how far it can go before you get out. Okay. Sometimes you let it go a little bit too far. Okay. In that case, boom, an injury happens right there. Really, my own fault if I got hurt that way. Okay. And I guarantee you that virtually every person that's trained jiu-jitsu has done that to themselves at some point. Okay. I'm never happy about that, but that is part of the learning process when that happens. Okay. And then you learn from that, you move on, you know where your limits are, and you just don't allow that to happen again. Okay. On the other hand, okay, because I'll be the dickhead here. We go ahead and I just try the submission. It's like, boom, and I crank it as hard and fast as I can, and I don't give Trevor an opportunity to tap out before he gets injured. If I don't concern for his well-being in that sense, then I'm the one that's at fault right there. Okay, like I literally put myself, like I should have had control of the situation. I put myself in the situation, I put Trevor in the situation, but I went so hard and fast that I didn't give him an opportunity to tap out before he got injured. Okay, and that would be something, at least in a training situation, would be an awful thing to do to somebody. Okay, and like I said, you know, as much as I don't like getting hurt, I really don't like hurting people unintentionally on that. Okay. So I got to be careful about that. At the end of the day, and especially in the situation we're at right now, where we've been in shelter in place for, God, I forgot, but a long time, you know, you really have to take care of your training partners. Like, you know, you really at this point should be knowing how valuable your training partners are to you, how important it is to be able to work with somebody out right there. Because if you lose that, you lose a big part about being able to train. So you want to take care of each other on this. Okay. So we're definitely playing with fire in this sense right here when we're going with submissions. Okay. But we're taking care of each other right there. We've hopefully over the last couple of weeks learned how to calibrate ourselves and work with somebody and keep ourselves safe and our opponents safe, or our partners safe on this. Okay. It's absolutely at risk. Injuries will occur in this for various reasons. Okay. And I acknowledge that risk. Okay. But we're trying to take care of each other as much as possible. Okay. So huge disclaimers. Like I always give everybody that comes in and trains with me that speech right now, so you know where I'm coming from. And from a positive tip too, it's like, again, what we're realizing more and more, it's the community aspect, which we're missing so much on this right there. It's the community aspect, which we really appreciate. The idea that we're trying to kind of push each other. We're learning, we're pushing each other, we're striving, we're trying to get to each other to new levels on this. And in that case, I'm appreciative of that. And again, we're really noticing right now in this time. Okay, enough of that speech right now, but I had to get that out. Okay. Again, we're going to talk about submissions, and specifically the submission we're going to try or work on today is the Americana. Okay. Sometimes known as a shoulder lock, sometimes known as a key lock. There's a couple of different reasons for that story, but I've talked enough. Trevor, can you hear me? Now, we're going to start this submission off. I can do it in a few places, but I like to start off my Americanas from a low mount. Remember how the low mount works. Hips over, hips, core strength, legs are grapevine, heels up, toes pointed in. Okay, my hands tend to be outstretched, my weight's on my hips, so what my core does, what my legs do, what my arms do. Okay, so that is a low mount right now. And for Trevor, for his part right here, he's gonna go ahead. I'm assuming that he's gonna defend himself. Why wouldn't he? He knows what's coming right there. Okay, so Trevor's protecting his face, protecting his neck, protecting his arms, and protecting his position. Okay. Very well right now, okay? Sitting there, you can see, holding tight, okay? Now, just because my opponent is going ahead and defending and he's in a safer situation, doesn't mean I'm not gonna attack him, okay? After I've established my position, after I've established domination, by all means, I wanna finish that encounter, okay? I'm gonna go for the submission in this case right there. The only way that I have of being 100% safe is ending the encounter, okay? And a submission will end the encounter. Now, tell you right now, if you're just tuning in, if you've done things before, or if you haven't done it with me, I'm going to tell you this Americana is a little bit unorthodox compared to what you might have seen. And I'm going to give full credit on this one to my good friend Henry Akins, who showed me this variation of the Americana, and I really haven't done an Americana any other way since. Okay. Now, having said that, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm sitting up right now, so it's easier to see, but I'll demonstrate from a low mount. I'm going to go ahead and decide which arm I'm going to attack for the Americana. Okay, that's an important consideration when I'm going for an attack. What am I going to attack? Okay, what is I going to try to submit? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to submit. I'm going to go ahead and say the right arm right here. Your arm's okay, your shoulder's okay. Everything's healthy on this right now. All's got to take care of your partners right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick a shoulder attack. Okay, I'm going to go after the right shoulder this time. Okay, in order to go after that right shoulder, in order to kind of get Trevor's arm away from his body and loosen things up, I'm going to come across right now, right arm to right arm, right arm to right arm. And I'm going to lead, not with my hand on this. Okay. This is where the unusual tip comes in. I'm going to lead with my elbow. I'm going to go ahead and come back in this low mount. I'll start off and I'll bring my arm in, elbow first. Okay. Right to the center of Trevor's chest, right where he's here right now, right where I have a gap and a place to move. Okay. I'll have my fingers pointed forward towards his head. My palm will be down. And this is going to look ridiculous, but we're going to call this, Henry used the word monkey paw on this. I was like kind of gooseneck on this. Okay. But I'm going to come down and attack this way. But I'm not leading with my hand. I'm going to lead with my elbow. Start off on the chest, kind of on the breastbone right here. Okay. And I'll sink my weight onto my elbow, onto the chest, which is going to be unpleasant. And I'm going to push my elbow across, push the clavicle down towards the ground. So my elbow will go from the chest, separate Trevor's hand away from his body, and it should land between his head and his neck. Okay, right in that crevice right there. Okay, so I'm here. I'm gonna go ahead and push that down, push that down, push that down. And I just need to get it to here. And right now my weight is pretty much triangulated between my hips and my elbow at this point. Now, a couple of tips on separating that away from somebody, okay? Again, submissions are dangerous things, okay? They're designed to cause injuries. They're not friendly things at all. This is not a nice thing I'm doing to Trevor when I'm going after the submission, okay? By putting my weight on my elbow right now, I'm gonna let him determine how nice or how, for lack of a better word, mean I'm gonna be about this pressure, okay? Some people might be, I'll give that up right away. And as I start driving my elbows down, as the hand goes through, they'll give that up fairly quickly. I just need to get them here. Some people might be holding on and locked in and being super stubborn about that. It's fine. I'll just go ahead and throw more weight on my elbow. I'll actually go ahead and consciously understand how my weight is distributing from it goes from my hips towards my elbows. Okay. And I think in most cases, eventually, I'm going to get what I want to get. Okay. And that's separating that hand away from his body. As a matter of fact, unless you're hellaciously stronger than myself, you're not going to hold on to that one too much longer. And the fact that I'm driving the point of my elbow, the pointy point of my elbow into your chest that way, okay, will make it monumentally difficult, or at least uncomfortable at that point. Like a lot of times that uncomfortness, is that a word? Well, that uncomfortability, that's even a worse word right there. We'll go ahead and if not open them up for the Americana, might open up for something else, okay? So I'll go ahead, I'll go on the left side right now, Trevor's left. Cross side right here. Again, left arm to left arm, so we're going across. I'm leading here with the elbow, and I drive down, and all I have to do is get my elbow between the head and the shoulder right here. Why is my hand goosenecked or monkey paw right here? The thing I actually fear when I do this version of the Americana isn't so much that I can't separate the arm away from the body. I know I can separate Trevor's arm away from his body, or at least I know I'm going to give him hell, even if he decides to resist that. The thing that I actually worry about when I do this in terms of the defenses is Trevor straightening out his arm, okay? If I go ahead and do this, I separate it around, he straightens out his arm, gets it away from myself right here, then I've lost my chance for the Americana, okay? Like a lot of times people will go ahead and defend and throw this out this way, and you know what happens when the arm straightens out and gets away from me right there is attacking the shoulder, I have no torque on this, okay? Torque, there's an interesting word right there. But it's basically giving me the leverage to rotate the cuff this way, okay? The arm is out straight or it's out straight right here. It's very hard to get that torque, okay? So there's an understanding of both physiology and physics right there. I need torque. I can't have him straighten out his arm. That's a fairly common defense. Now, by coming down with the monkey paw, by separating the hand away from his body, okay, I can make sure if he doesn't try to straighten out, I don't have to do anything. But if he does try to straighten out his arm up, look, I've already caught him, okay? A lot of times it's easier to prevent something from getting away from you than it ever will be to allow that, to reel that arm back in, okay? So a lot of times an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If he never straightens out his arm, if he straightens out his arm, I should say, it's gonna be very difficult to pull that back in. And he knows what I'm going after this point because Trevor has experience, okay? I'm never going to let him straighten out the arm. So I'm coming in once again, elbow first, monkey paw right here. Again, be as mean and vicious as I want to be on this. Okay, my weight's actually on my elbow. I'm cupping my hand. I don't have to grab it. I'm just preventing that from straightening out. Okay, I'm preventing that from getting away. Okay, and it gives me the ability to torque the arm. Okay, notice I don't even have to push his wrist underneath his to the ground. It actually makes it easier when his wrist isn't on the ground for me now to take my free arm, finish off this move. I'll come underneath Trevor's tricep, come over the top of my own wrist, kind of hold the grip here. Here's a big key on this. Always look away from your opponent when you do this. Okay, it shifts your weight in a way. Always look away. And then carefully, because I value Trevor as a training partner, I'm going to do two motions. Pull his elbow towards my hip. And at the same time, I'm going to lift his elbow up towards the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate and pull. So rotate and pull, elbow down towards the hip. And you'll get the submission that way. Okay. Now I got to point out when I do this, people are flexible. The higher the elbow is up right here, the more flexibility they'll demonstrate in this case. Okay. especially when their elbow's above their shoulder when they're laying on the ground this way. It'll seem like you'll never get that submission going on some folks. I think both Trevor and I are in that category, we're pretty flexible. But everything tightens up the more you pull that elbow down towards the hips this way. Okay, once this elbow is down here, you're going to find there's very little flexibility, very little rotation. It takes a lot less force to finish that off. Okay, so we're always bringing this down this way and lifting the elbow up at the same time. Okay, head pointing either way. Sometimes this move is known as the paintbrush because it was described as you're trying to draw a line or an arrow on the ground pointing towards the feet. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do this motion from here. Boom. I come underneath the tricep over the top of my own wrist. Again, I don't have to grab anything right there. I like kind of this wrist to wrist contact here. Okay, I just have to prevent Trevor from straightening out his arm. Okay, now I'll go ahead. Here's the key on tightening this up. Right now, if I try to finish this off from here, I'll probably never get this on Trevor. He's too damn flexible. So what I'm going to do is pull the elbow down towards our hips. It tightens everything up. And I'll go ahead, torque the arm at the same time. That to much faster and more efficient submission at that point. Okay. So that's literally the only way I've done Americanas over the years. Okay. Because I found that so much more effective. I can point out a couple of things about this. Like I've seen people like, why isn't the Americana working? Okay. The number one reason why the Americana doesn't work is because the arm got away and you're never going to get it back in at that point. The number two reason why the Americana doesn't work is you don't pull the elbow down far enough. Okay. People will kind of leave that out here and try to get this. Okay. I've seen variations where people try to get an Americana, blocking the head here and holding it like this. Okay. Rotate around here for a second. I hate showing the wrong way to do things, but this is so common that people will go ahead and trap hold right here and try to finish off the Americana this way. Why can't this work right now? Any guesses? I'll tell you right now, the reason why this isn't going to work, especially on Trevor, is because my arm is on one side of the shoulder. My left arm is on the side of the shoulder. To get this right here, I can't bring his arm down any further. I've actually blocked myself by holding onto his head here. It's a matter of fact, in most cases, unless I'm going specifically for an attack, if I'm wrapping my arm around their head, this isn't stabilizing the position, which a lot of people think it does. This is actually making me vulnerable because I've trapped this arm right here. It makes me vulnerable to the UPA right now. Now Trevor can go ahead and take me over that one, and I don't really have a good way of defending it at that point. Okay, I'm not saying I never put my arm underneath the head here, but it's not for stabilization purposes. Okay, it's for setting up certain attacks. And in this case, if I wanted to do the Americana, I'm never going to get it this way. Okay, arms have to be, weight has to be on the same side of my opponent. Okay, and now when I catch this, I was in the setup. There you go. I have unlimited range to move my arm down. Okay, so again, cradling the head makes for a very weak Americana. And Americanas, like I said, you're looking at probably the two of the most flexible guys in the all heroes right now, looking at you right now. My shoulder's crazy flexible, but there's an element of understanding and performing the technique properly, which is going to get that one working. Okay. Because against higher level guys, you always want to assume any technique you ever do, everything I'll show will work 99% of the time. Okay. At least on a fundamental level, if done properly. You always want to assume that the technique's got to work, not on just somebody who has no idea what they're doing or somebody that's going to give up right away, but I want my technique to work against somebody that really knows what they're doing and has absolutely no intention of losing to me. Okay, I'm visualizing the most dangerous opponent that I can in this case. And you have to visualize that in the sense that the technique better work against that person too. Okay, yeah, I know there's anomalies, like, you know, there's some people, it seems that they really don't have ligaments in their shoulders. Or there might be some extraneous circumstance where it's like, you know, the person outweighs you by 200 pounds or whatever, that makes it especially difficult. That's why I always say 99. I never deal in absolutes on this. Like, you know, at best, I'm thinking like, I'm 99% sure the technique would work for most people. Okay. Against most opponents. Okay. At least I have that visualization right there that it will work most of the time. Okay. A lot of times when somebody starts off at a lower level and says like, oh, the technique didn't work right now. Legitimately, I would say, again, 99% of the time, it's like you just didn't do the technique right. You got to go back and do a review and make sure that things are working right there. Okay. It wasn't so much that there was some extraordinary circumstance. I'm not saying they don't exist. Okay. But I'm saying 99% of the time, it's just we got to go back and we got to refine the technique. Okay. And 99% of the time when it comes to submissions, why a submission works or why it doesn't work right there. Okay. A lot of times it has nothing to do with the submission in itself. It has to do with the fact, like, did I maintain the position well enough to get the submission? Did I establish that level of dominance? After all, if we go over here and lay down for a second, and I have some kind of mount, and I don't feel comfortable, and Trevor is like really squirrely right now. He's making his escapes right now. I'm not getting a submission off this right now. I'm not getting a submission at that point. Okay, it's gonna be very difficult to do that. I have to go ahead, establish domination right here. I don't have a hard line of how long I have to establish the domination, but I have to make sure that Trevor's not going anywhere. Okay, I have to make sure that I've established domination of the position. And then once I've established domination of that position, okay, then I'll go ahead and be able to put energy into going after that finish. Okay, but without that establishing that position right there, again, the chances of that finish are very low percentage at that point. Okay, even though the mount by definition is a really good position to have. Now, with time and experience, as you go ahead and start working this, as you start sparring and drilling and whatnot with this, you'll learn exactly how long you have to dominate the position before you can go for a finish. Or, be quite frank, sometimes I don't really throw feints and jabs in jiu-jitsu the same way you would think of boxing or striking art. But sometimes my ability to go after the finish, okay, puts my opponent in a place where they can't think about the escape on the position as much. Okay, they have to think about their safety. Again, it comes back down to that safety first, then position, then finish mindset on this. So, in other words, from a strategy standpoint, if I just go ahead and get the position on Trevor, and I put 100% of my energy into maintaining the position, okay, we might stay here forever, but if I'm not thinking about finishes right now, then Trevor can basically spend 100% of his energy trying to get out of the position right there. Okay, he might even get away with some silly and dumb stuff if I said I'm not going to try to submit you, because he doesn't have to worry about that. Okay. However, there's a thing as an opportunity cost. The second I start going after I've dashed this, and I go after position, a submission rather, Trevor simply can't sit there and continue to think about the position. If he thinks only about the position at this point, I'm going to finish him off. Okay. Trevor has to develop and devote some of his energy just to keep himself safe, okay? And by definition, since you have a finite amount of energy, a finite amount of resources, as you're sitting there starting to defend, keep yourself safe, you're not maintaining it, or you're not thinking about the escape on the position as well right there. Again, we're dealing with opportunity costs and odds, okay? The less chance he has of thinking about his safe, the more he has to think about his safety, the more he has to think about his submission, okay? The less chances he has of going ahead and actually make an escape out of position. Let's take this to a real extreme example that we're not going to do at this point. But if I was to start punching him in the face, okay, most of Trevor's energy, most of my opponent's thought process is simply not getting hit in the face at this point right here. Okay, he has to devote some energy to that. Okay, he has to be thinking about that. He's not 100% escape at this point, because if he opens up, if he does something, if he forgets about his safety at this point, it could be all over that quickly. And again, there's an experience factor on this that you have to know. When is the time to move from a safety mindset to a position mindset to a finish mindset? And quite frankly, those transitions, that thought process happens definitely in real time. Oftentimes you're making that adjustments multiple times multiple times a second in a lot of cases, which is where the hard part of training jiu-jitsu comes in. Okay, it's not just how to do the techniques, which we've been trying to explain right now. It's when to do the techniques. Okay, when to move along that safety position finish mindset. Okay, yeah. So I'll give you some tips when you're actually training. So again, since we're working from a beginner standpoint right here, okay, and given all that information, when we drill this right now that you have the ability to think safety position finish, you can drill this at certain at different levels with a partner right there. Your first level of doing this, now that you have the information you have, is simply sitting there and maintaining the position, okay? Because after all, if you can't maintain the position, if you can't maintain a mount, you have no chance of finishing off. And you can go from either variation of the mount to start off with. I happen to be in a high rodeo mount right now, okay? Which there's certainly attacks that happen on this. A lot of times I can wear you down even more from this position if I know what I'm doing, okay? But I can go ahead and set a timer, see how long I can maintain this position or how long my opponent, my partner, Trevor, can go ahead and execute an escape, get back into what we would consider a neutral position, i.e. he puts me back in the guard, i.e. he reverses it. Okay, so that's one level of drilling right there and has a certain level of usefulness on this. Okay, but the real test of this drill now comes in now that we have finishes. Okay, so suddenly both of our mindsets have changed. We've made things a little bit more complex in the sense that, again, safety first, then position, then finish. Okay, theoretically, if I'm on top, okay, if I have the top mount right there, things are much more greatly in my favor. I'm generally thinking more about position. But I'll never say that there's a 0% chance that Trevor can't finish me off. Stranger things have happened. It's low, but it's not 0. Okay, so you can go ahead, set the timer. You can set the timer and drill in one of 2 ways. You can do this with the timer. Then I go ahead and it's just a matter of, can I do maintain for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute? Can I survive for 15 minutes, 30 seconds, 1 minute against somebody just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at me? Okay, so we can go timer specific, or we can go goal specific, i.e. we'll start off in this mount, okay, and it won't happen, the drill isn't over until one of us have accomplished a goal. Either that Trevor's escaped or I finished him off. Okay, so 2 ways of setting up the drill. Again, I'll repeat, use a timer, drill for the duration of the time, or set a goal, drill until you hit that goal. Both of those styles of drills have value. I usually start off with timer drills first before I get to goal-based drills. Okay, exactly how long I run the time sometimes depends on my opponent. Okay, or sometimes it depends on the makeup of the class. And I want you to know, especially with the timer-based drills when we start off, sometimes just maintaining the status quo is success. A lot of times just maintaining the status quo is key. Success. A lot of times just keeping yourself safe is success. Okay, you have to be very measured on what your how should I put this, what your levels of success are in jiu-jitsu, or what would constitute success. For example, if I start off on the bottom right there and I say go, and Trevor finishes me off in 2 seconds, which might happen, and the second time we go through this drill and the exact same thing, and it takes Trevor 4 seconds to finish me off, type or whatever, then technically, if I lasted 4 seconds about 2 seconds, that's 100% improvement right there, okay? And as we're going ahead, as we're starting off, as we're drilling, that incremental process, that incremental amount of times are going to be your levels of success. Because quite frankly, if you're starting off, particularly if you're the new person working with somebody experienced, okay, you're not really going to pull off a submission on somebody, or you're not likely to pull off a submission on somebody for a while at that point, okay? Just being real talk and being honest with you right there, okay? Or even if you're dealing with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, they're whatever, spazzy or whatever, pulling off submissions are difficult things, okay? Submissions are dangerous things, and they're difficult things to pull off without training.
Proper submissions anyway.
Proper submissions anyways. Like, crazy stuff happens when you roll around, but as experience comes through, you get less and less of that, okay? So you got to measure where your success is, and your first level of success is how long you can survive, okay? And that survival mindset, like people will get impatient, like, well, when do I get out of that mindset? Not for a while. And just when you think you mastered that, you deal with a better class of opponent, somebody has more experience, and that cycle starts over again. Okay, this is, never use the word easy in describing this. This is actually quite difficult, but worth it. I gotta say that, like, the journey is worth it. All right, so this is a lot more talking and philosophy and a bit of which I think is a really good technique, okay? I could rehash it right now, but most of you are going to be watching this replayed on YouTube, so I'm going to invite you to go ahead and rewind that or whatever it is and scrub it. That is a fairly unorthodox version of the Americana, but it is the one that I got from Henry Akins. You got that one from Rickson Gracie. And again, that's the only way I do Americanas these days. Okay. So we're going to wrap things up right now. Thanks so much for joining us and tuning in. We'll see you next week with more introduction to jiu-jitsu. I'm going to go in a few different directions. And yeah, be safe. See you out there. Thanks.